Hello. As you can see, I'm by myself. This is actually just purely a prank. Chris has no idea I'm recording right now. He's not even in the room. He's coming back. Hello. Oh, there he is. Welcome back. Ginger ale. Diet ginger ale.
Zero sugar ginger ale. It's different.
Upsetting.
Which just makes me even more sad because this is one of the things I also like to mix with liquor.
Well, shall we?
It's not recording. Did you start recording it?
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Hi. When did you do that?
After you walked out.
What'd you say about me while I was gone?
Don't worry about it. The world and Chris Wood will never know. Ready?
Oh, I splashed you. Sorry.
You did splash me.
Cheers. Not
Cheers.
so fun. Cheers.
Cheers.
Piggies up.
Oh,
Shut up.
you're missing out.
Did you tell the audience why I'm missing out?
Because he's a jerk.
I gave up alcohol for Lent. Megan
Like
and I both together. That was our. I like the idea of giving up multiple things for Lent, but also like having like a joint thing with my spouse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for the marriage. So
this is your thing. This is your...
yeah, we both are doing that. I'm turning my phone on silent. Sorry. Yeah, which is fine, except for like now.
When I'm drinking a really awesome Morning Mudslide Imperial Porter from Collusion Tapworks.
I'm drinking a
Diet ginger ale.
zero sugar ginger ale.
Diet ginger ale.
As everyone knows, the zero sugar tastes different than diet. I don't know why, but this, like I said, also this makes me sad too because this is good as a mixed drink, but there's nothing in it except for the diet ginger ale. So this episode is also brought to you by mustard. So I wanted to bring that up. I meant to have a mustard bottle in my hand, but
I was going to say, he totally forgot.
I forgot.
Ha!
But, well, busy day. But yeah.
Busy life.
Yeah, we did get one comment about mustard.
Ooh, what was
From
the comment?
Joseph. Well, he said that, maybe I'm getting the episodes mixed up. No, it was a different one. He's in support of mustard, as he should.
Nope.
Brought to you by mustard, the superior condiment for all things.
No. I like the way that this background looks better than my background in my home.
Yeah, I can adjust it a little bit, so I'm going to...
Just a little bit. Yeah, that's
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. As you can see, we're not in the place we were last time. I am down at Chris's farm. This is recording studio number 1.
Yeah, look how fat my head looks.
That's not the camera.
It's not.
That's just your head.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are in my home office shed slash studio on the farm because we're gonna have a bonfire night tonight. So you may hear the scratching of my dogs who wish they were in here, but are not allowed.
Nope.
Well, I can't.
Not this time.
Well, the problem is you get these Jack Russell dogs and like. In spaces that they don't go in a lot, sometimes they'll want to mark stuff where they like pee on it a little bit. That's a real challenge with Jack Russells because they're very like aggressive with their space and like what's there. So that is the one thing that we struggle with them is like that's the main reason I officially kicked them out and like that doggy door is blocked is because I found out that Ripper particularly was sneaking in here. And there was, I forget where it was, but he just, once they pee on something once, then they're going to want to pee on it every time. And it's like, I hate that. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, that's why we got lucky with the cats that we have. Not that I love the cats that we have, but they don't pee everywhere.
Well, that's why growing up, my parents only liked having girl dogs, because they typically don't do that. So. It's the boy dogs that want to claim everything. And then when you have 2 Jack Russells, whatever the one pees on, the other one. Like if you watch them come outside, they'll just go around the place peeing on the same things.
Claiming it.
Yeah.
It's theirs.
That's fine. Well, that's not something we need to talk about too much.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, but this is... I'm going to have to put the air conditioner in here soon because it starts getting hot in here fast.
It is stuffy in here.
Well, the heater was on and I turned it off. But again, like, if I open a window, then we'll just pick up all the outdoor noise. And the same thing when I record stuff in here for whatever else I record, like music, I have to turn the air conditioner off while I'm recording. Because it'll make... You'll just hear it the whole time.
Yeah.
Like that fridge that's on right now, normally I turn that off. Because, like, you can hear that.
I can.
But it'll pick up on the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
So
I think it was in the background of our first episode.
Yeah.
Look how far we've come. Now you can see us.
Yeah,
Cheers.
we had pretty good traction, but people with the last video episode, but people seem to not like it when we talk about the podcast on the podcast.
All right, we'll stop talking about the podcast on the podcast. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Been busy. I can't talk a lot about foster care because kids have their right to privacy and there's rules with that kind of stuff. So, like, I could talk about being a foster parent, but I just, for the record, I can't, like, use his name.
Okay.
Or, like, too many descriptive details. That's the same reason why I can't put pictures of him on social media and stuff like that.
That's fair.
But yes, we did get a 10-month-old baby foster placement. Not this past Thursday, but the Thursday before. However long that's been.
Almost 2 weeks.
Feels like forever. But big change for Megan and I because we've fostered other kids but not babies before. Mm-hmm. So it's proving to be what we expected, which is easier in some ways. Easier in a lot of ways compared to teenagers, unfortunately. But, challenging in other ways in that, a teenager will sit in their room safe and alone, whereas I can't leave this child alone for a second. Unless he's napping.
I feel like no matter what age a child is at, and I say this with years and years of parenting experience, but
so many years.
I feel like whatever age a child is at, there's always going to be some sacrifice associated with, like, your time or your space or whatever it might be. Well, and, you're definitely time restricted when it comes to babies because you can't leave them by themselves. But then I feel like even giving kids that amount of freedom once they're old enough to have it becomes a sacrifice in and of itself, because you got to admit that they're old enough to be left alone and responsible,
and they still want to be around you. Like, even the hard-nosed teen foster placements, like, there'd be times where, like, with our last placement, like, I had to be cognizant of that, which I wasn't always good at. It's one of the reasons too I was inspired to take a break from my smartphone for a while, was also because of that. Because, like, there was a couple times where our last teen foster placement would come in here because I'd be working or whatever and stuff, and I would be, like, messing on my phone doing something, and, like, he would come in, and in my mind I just kind of I was paying more attention to the phone than him, because I in my mind he was just not bothering me, but I didn't register. I registered after the moment that he wanted to hang out or something. Like, he wasn't just coming in here to, he came in to ask me a question, but that was him, like, opening the door to, like, wanting to, like, maybe sit down or whatever,
talk, spend time,
and, like, and then he sort of took the vibe from me that I was busy, and then went back to whatever he was doing, and that happened a couple times, and I was like, that's not good.
I've noticed that with myself too, and my own kid, where, like, she'll come and she'll bring a toy or something, and I'll be, like, scrolling on my phone or doing something, and needing to consciously, like, put it away, put it off to the side, go leave it in my room. But it's tough also, because now that I'm off keto and doing Weight Watchers again, and I get points for steps, and my phone is my pedometer, so, like, I'm ultra aware of it at this point, always on my person, so that I get all of the steps that I can get to get as many points back as I can get.
Well, you could get something to fix that problem, I guess.
I could, but then I'd have to spend more money.
It's true.
I don't want to spend
more
more
money.
money.
I feel about that. We talked about that.
Yes, I do know how you feel about that.
But yeah, that's the whole... I mean, the whole reason I had smartwatches before was simply to connect to those apps, because it is... And because then it can track more than just your steps, too.
True, but that's a big investment to connect to my Weight Watchers that I don't know if I'm going to have forever.
I agree with you completely. I'm on your side here. Yeah. I'm just saying, when I had...
I'm arguing with younger Chris.
That's fine. You are... Well, again, like, I'm not totally anti it. Like, it was effective. Like when I had an iPhone and an iWatch, and any of those apps, like it's the best. Even just all trails, like trying to hike for fitness and like track that, like it is perfect. Like the Apple's got it down with that kind of, because Megan got like an off-brand non-Apple smartwatch and it's fine, but it's nothing like that. And the same, like I've gotten used to this Android phone and it's fine, but they've figured it out. Like I'm used to this phone now and fine with it, but like all the like Apple's just nailed it with like features
better.
and functions.
Yeah. Sorry, Android people.
Yeah, I got
Shame.
one. Like I said, it's fine. It's a little slow, but it is what it is. But I would say definitely Apple's nailed it with phones, and even the iWatch. Like, because I had a Garmin for a watch, which the Garmin, like if you were going to get a watch just for fitness, like there are better ones than the iWatch, like the Garmin. But for like phone functions, it wasn't as good. But I didn't like that. I got really sick of text messages coming to my wrist. I didn't like that. Like real quick, that got annoying. I never wanted to answer my phone on my watch. Like that seemed dumb. So that stuff started getting annoying real fast.
Yeah. I feel like if you're on the go, it would be better. Where it's like you can't necessarily pull your phone out of your pocket, or maybe you're listening to music.
I just don't know if I get that many messages. I still didn't like it.
Yeah.
It just was annoying. It was like invasive. It was too invasive.
I might get it for work. Like I should say, if I were to ever get it, I would get it for work, but I would leave it at work in a locked drawer.
Well, that's one of my things that I would love too, is just to have a phone. Because, one of the things I noticed going back to the smartphone after that flip phone, they're trying to dig. My dogs.
I was going to say they're trying to get in.
Yeah, they're trying to dig under the shed.
Yep.
That's hilarious. They. What was I saying?
Smartwatches.
No, yeah. So no, a smartphone. Like when my flip phone just started to break, and software started, like after 4 or 5 months, it just started to stop working properly. When I got the phone back, when I went back to this Toshiba or whatever it is, it was my community. I'm like, I noticed for work, like for my job as a youth minister, there really are definitely noticeable advantages with a smartphone, simply because of the fact that it's just easier to communicate.
Yeah.
Which is why in my mind, it's like I would love to just have because I would also love for people to not so many people to have my personal phone number in a church job too. So a work phone would be cool, which I would then just not have on my person outside of working hours.
My work phone lives in my car, and unfortunately, there are some people who do once in a while need to get hold of me after hours. So I've given my personal number to some people at work, and they're pretty respectful of boundaries, but not thrilled about the idea. Because one day maybe I'll leave the company. I have no idea. And now there's going to be some random person who has my phone number.
Yeah. Back in the day, changing phone numbers wasn't that big of a deal. Because I remember back in the...
Well, now we've got cell phones where like...
No, I'm talking even with cell phones. Like in the OG cell phone thing. Yeah, it wasn't uncommon. Like back in the day, it was not uncommon for the new phone. That's that new phone who dis thing. Like that response, like that came from that area of like... Back when they had real phone contracts, like stuff were more locked in.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to change providers, you had to get a new phone number.
Okay.
So it was like porting phone numbers over, like they can do it instantly now, was not a thing. So like it wasn't uncommon for you to like, you could transfer and stuff wasn't as easy. So that's what I'm saying. There was in the beginning of the text messaging world and stuff like that. Like maybe this was pre-smartphone. But like you with like the old like Nokias and those flip phones and stuff, like you weren't transferring contacts like you did now. Like if you got you'd get a new number, a new phone, and you're starting from scratch. So it wasn't uncommon to have a new number every once in a while, which was wild.
You are really that old.
Yeah, I mean I remember not having a cell phone. I had a pager for a
Oh,
while.
I remember not having a cell phone when I was.
Well, that's just because you were too
10.
young. You weren't allowed. But I'm
I
saying
was
your
11 when I got my first phone.
smartphones existed most of your life.
Yes, I remember the Christmas where my one uncle showed up to our house with, like, I want to say it was either the iPhone or the iPhone 2, and he was showing us how cool the touchscreen was and the pictures, and you could like zoom in by like pinching and spreading,
cool.
and yeah, it was cool. It still is cool, but we take it for granted now because now
normal.
it's 20 years later.
I remember I was the first person in my school, one of the first ones to have a cell phone. And then...
Big man on campus.
Well, my parents took advantage of communication. That's why I also had a pager and most people didn't. Like, my parents gave us a lot of freedom, but like as technology was available, they definitely implemented it so they could get a hold of us. So, but I had to pay for my own cell phone from the beginning, so that's why I had a job young too. Oh. And my dad always had the top of the line plans. I was paying like $75 a month just for me back in the day.
Yikes!
But I was the first one. I remember being excited for the phone that you turned sideways and flipped it up with the QWERTY keyboard.
The LG Envy.
Yeah, that was a great phone. That was the coolest because that
was the phone everybody
that
had.
set text messaging. That took text messaging to the next level.
Yeah, when you had a full keyboard.
Keypad, yeah. That was cool. I tried to find a phone because Nokia still makes phones like dumb phones that you can get, but they don't work for my provider. So that was why I realized with the provider we have, really there was only that one flip phone that I could get. Because even the unlocked ones, they only work with a certain like tower arrangement or something like that. And like, because it's like all these cell phone companies apparently all use the same towers. You're just like paying for the service.
Yeah.
But there seems to be like 2 or 3 main setups, and like what I'm on is on one that like I can't get like anything, because like there's a cat like construction brand like flip phone that's supposed to be really good, but that only works with like whatever like T-Mobile and stuff like that's on. So that's why I threw in the towel, because I can't even get, I can only get that one, and it's a piece of crap.
Yep.
So that was disappointing because I wasn't sad with it. Like I was fine. The GPS thing was a little.
You got to click through it.
Yeah, that was dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, it would get you there in a pinch, but like I was not wanting to abandon it. It's just once I could no longer access my call log, that became a real problem. Because anytime somebody called me and I like the number wasn't saved in my phone, like I couldn't call them back because I couldn't get to the call log. Or if somebody left me a voicemail and they didn't leave their number, which most people don't anymore, I can't call them back. So again, for work purposes, it became a little bit frustrating.
My big annoyance with every dumb phone that I had was that with the iPhone, or I guess with most smartphones, like someone texts you and you get a little notification ribbon across the top.
Yeah.
On the dumb phones, like your whole screen becomes the notification. And it says so-and-so sent you a text or some number sent you a text. And then it's like open or ignore. So my friends would like prank me from time to time, and they would just like send a stream of text messages one right after the other. And I'm like, I can't respond, let alone read these. Like you're freezing my whole phone doing this. And that was... But I also remember my first dumb phone was the Pantech Juke. And it was cool to me because it was thin. It was like this. It was like this thin, and then it opened this way.
Yeah.
Instead of opening up like a regular phone would. Yeah. And I thought it was the coolest thing, and all of my classmates made fun of me for it, even though
it was cool.
It was awesome. So if any of you are listening, screw you guys. It was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't really have a desire to be that connected anyway. Like I said, I'm fine with this phone. I did drop it and broke the screen, and it is not worth getting fixed because it's not a very good one. So
fair.
I'll wait for an upgrade opportunity or something like that, and we'll see. But I'm not paying iPhone money, and I'm not switching providers either. Because like I know that's not hard anymore, but I'm at the age in my life where like I got it, I like it, it works. I don't want to change it.
Don't want to do something different.
I don't. Because, like, our one foster son who we're still connected with works for a T-Mobile store. And he's like, I can hook you up and this and that. I'm like, no, thank you.
Oh, my gosh. I remember the one time, Veda's sister for a time worked for T-Mobile. Or it might have been AT&T. I forget. But anyways, there was one point we were over at her parents' house while she was there. And she, like, took my phone out of my hand and tried to switch providers on my phone. And
That's not okay.
And I was like, stop. No, I like Verizon.
No. Yeah, we
get all sorts of fun perks like Disney Plus.
Yeah, we have Cricket, which is Sprint's sister company. Not Sprint, AT&T's sister company. And it works great. It's like the locked-in price. They have good. It's just been good. And I had T-Mobile when I first met Megan and first started coming in this area because I'm from Maryland. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't, like, when I was, because she owned her own house when we first met, like, I could not make a phone call at her house. My parents switched to T-Mobile, and they live not far from here, and they had to take advantage of the 7-day return policy because it just wouldn't work. But the T-Mobile internet works fine. That's what we're on right now. We have the T-Mobile plug-and-play internet because you can't get a lot of internet options here.
Yeah. And,
dang it, see, smartphone. I thought I put it on silent.
Apparently not. Or someone bypassed.
No, it's because this... Even the function of putting this thing on silent is just like Apple putting that little switch on the side. Like, it's just so crazy.
Yeah.
But we don't need to talk about phones anymore. That's not... Yeah, I did want to say... Again, I don't know if you have a topic. The only thing I wanted to say is that it was funny, going back to how we've had this placement for a 10-month-old baby. Because we had the last episode where we talked about Lent and sacrifices and all those things. Yep. And you and I have had a lot of conversations about it off the podcast as well, which I appreciate because you're helping me flesh this out. But my goal for Lent was to put that kind of stuff into practice. Because, again, I'm trying to develop like a rule of life, like I talked about. And, again, I am God is guiding me into something that a lot of people would consider maybe a little more extreme than others. I think
a lot of people would consider it
more extreme. But basically incorporating more traditional Catholic asceticism into the marriage vocation.
Yes.
So it's funny how God works in my life because I've always been a person that likes to just dive into the deep end and either swim or drown.
Same.
Yeah, that's just better.
Call it my all or nothing mentality.
Yeah, so that was my Lent. And it's funny because all of the things that I laid out, I now don't really have a choice but to live because there's a 10-month-old baby. So literally, like, I say this stuff, but again, my mind is like, I don't want to just say it. Like, I need to do this. Like, I need to start figuring this out. Like, discerning this by, like, doing things. And literally the day after Ash Wednesday, I get a phone call. My wife and I have a 10-month-old baby. And now, like... I really don't, like, taking care of him on top of the farm and everything and trying to also, like, maintain the same standards of living in our home and stuff like that. Like, I don't have, like, talking about leisure time and all those things, like, I really don't have that time.
Yeah.
I just don't. Like, now it's, like, not, I don't even have to worry about the temptation. And, like, the food thing, that's not hard either because literally, like, I don't, now that because he's with me mostly during the day because I work a lot of evenings and weekends doing youth ministry. So I'm sort of like half kind of the stay-at-home dad. So, unless, Megan has days off too, it just depends. But, like today, he's with me all day.
Yeah.
I didn't sit down to eat once today. So, like, my desire to work on taming the belly and focus on food more for sustenance than pleasure, like, that's... And, like, my mentality of, like, not... Like, that's the one big thing I say is on any day that's not the Sabbath, I don't feel like it's appropriate to take excessive leisure time for my own personal whatever when the sun's up.
Yeah.
And, like, that's my life.
Yep.
Like, now it's like Megan and I, when she gets home from work, we're doing stuff. And after he goes to bed at 7:38, that's when we can, like, clean the house up and stuff. Like... We're not even sitting down, like, one of the things we're working towards now that we're normalizing and getting used to the routine is starting to figure out how we can eat dinner together with him.
That's key.
Yeah, and
dinner together is
yes,
is a
and
big
eating
thing.
around a table as a family is paramount, and we know that. It's just adjusting to this routine. It's been more of like feeding him. It's been more of a mentality these first couple weeks of getting him settled, and then we take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So we're finding more balance in that, but still, like I said, like throughout the day, because I'm talking more about my productivity level when the sun is up and it's not the Sabbath. Is kind of what I've talked about a lot on the last episode. Like now, it's like only time I sat down today was to do when he was taking a nap for a couple hours, and I did office work for my job. That was it. I don't think I sat down one other time than that.
Yeah. Even Veda today was texting me with Rosanna slept in a little bit this morning, and Veda, as part of her Lent, has been waking up with me at like 5:30 in the morning.
Ew.
And so like we'll have like separate quiet prayer time in the same room, but like our own prayer time. And then I'll leave for work and she'll just like start going about her day.
Yeah.
And I texted her, I know she had a rough day yesterday. I texted her this morning. I was like, how is today? Is today better? She was like, yeah, it is. Rosanna slept till 10. I have gotten almost all of my work done for the day, which I never get to do this early.
That's what I noticed too, is it's amazing how much I can get done.
Yeah.
When it's like, I have an hour and a half to 2 hours right now.
Yes.
And it's like,
That's
I've
huge.
become even more, like I'm a more productive version of myself, which is interesting.
Yeah, because everything is on a time crunch. Everything before that you could just kind of do.
And
you knew it would get done.
Yeah, but with
like,
my ADHD procrastination mindset,
yeah,
it would not always be as effective.
Yeah.
Like I would get my job done, but like...
But now you've got deadlines built into your schedule because...
I've lost 5 pounds too.
Have you really?
Yes.
I've gained 5 pounds.
You get off keto, something slaps back on you. That's just the nature of it.
It's true. It's true.
You still look great.
Thank you. You still look beautiful too.
I know, I can't help it.
Beautiful and bearded.
But
and
I will
boys.
say that I listened back to the last podcast, and I really wouldn't. Although I've experienced this, I wouldn't change. Like I don't feel any differently about anything that I said. And then what also has helped. The only thing I wish is I've started that book, Happy Are You Poor, by Dubé, I think it is.
Okay. I don't know.
I should have read that first, because now I can tell you, like, I meant to bring it in here too, but is it in my bag? I think it's in my bag. Like he says in the beginning of the book, and this is a very famous Catholic, I think he was priest, author. He wrote like Fire Within and stuff like very popular books.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah, that is Father Dubé.
Yeah, he says right in the beginning that like he calls it evangelical poverty or gospel poverty is supposed to be extreme and is supposed to be for everyone in every vocation. Like he clearly says it. Now he's going to define it better as I get into the book, but he is talking about a sparing, sharing, gospel following lifestyle of like you spare yourself. And he referenced what I even said, which I was happy. He even referenced the same scripture of like Jesus recognized the woman that gave from her need and not just her excess.
Yeah.
And like we're all called to live that way.
Yes.
So that's what was interesting is like, and that's the thing I can say now too, is like it's a tricky topic and hard for us to accept in our American culture as Catholics in this country. But I'm glad that's why I said I wish I had started reading that book before, because like I can say like if anybody is uncertain about what I was talking about or not sure or doesn't believe me, like I don't even want to talk to you until you've read that book. Like I'll talk to you about it, but like I'm not like if you can read just what I've read so far and still like try to pass it off, then I don't even know what I'd have to say to you about it.
My thing, and I was actually.
And we don't need to have a whole nother hour conversation. Like I want to see what's in my bag.
No, but we actually, while Chris is doing this and we're taking a brief intermission, I want to tell you what a hypocrite Chris is, because I found this,
which I was going to give you,
in his office on the stack next to the record player.
So I bought that. I went to the used record store.
I don't care what excuse you have.
And I bought that specifically because I was like, that was in the midst of me saying I want to give Billy Joel a shot. And I put that record on and wanted to set my record player on fire because the whole album is terrible.
That's the only album of his that won Best Album.
The layman's living of frugality. He uses the word frugality, which that's the word I wish I could have used. That's the word that's a more...
Frugality?
Yes, so being frugal. Okay. So he uses the word frugality, which I think makes more sense to our brains. So the layman's living of frugality must differ in some ways from that of the religious and cleric. But the difference is not between mediocrity and excellence. Evangelical poverty is radical, and it is radical for all. That's the quote. And this is, it's Thomas Dubé.
Wait, read that again. I'm trying to listen for the middle verse, the middle line.
The layman's living, us as non... Yeah. The layman's living of frugality must differ in some ways from that of the religious and cleric.
Yes, agreed.
But the difference is not that between mediocrity and excellence, meaning like we don't approach it, we're not supposed to be mediocre, like they're supposed to do it better than us, is what he's saying. Evangelical poverty is radical, and it is radical for all. That's the sentence that I'm focusing on most.
Okay, but also there's orders of ordained religious or even non-ordained religious who take vows of poverty as part of their order.
Yeah.
I would disagree that people like you and me are called to live that kind of frugality.
How can you ignore what Jesus says in the gospel? So then you're saying what Jesus said in the gospels is not for you.
What thing?
Like when he recognizes the woman who gives from her need and not from her excess. And the times that he says, if you want to follow me, you have to give up everything. And if you have a second cloak, give it to the person who doesn't have one. Like he lays it out in so many ways in the Gospels. And so that's what I'm saying, like, it's here too. He talks about New Testament revelation. The meaning of evangelical poverty is learned from the lips of the Lord, or it is not learned at all. We are looking into a divinely revealed plan for the equitable use of material goods in this world. We intend that they lead us to our brothers and sisters. We intend that they lead us and our brothers and sisters to the bosom of Trinitarian life and our final fulfillment, which is what he's getting into, is the idea that anything that we do have is solely only really supposed to be for that. Everything in our life is only supposed to be for that purpose of bringing us closer to the Trinity, to God.
Yes, okay. That I agree with.
So then again, like if you look at through the lens of that, then like certain aspects become undeniable. Because like, all I'm saying is every time anybody tries to argue against this, to me, it's just people making justifications for the things that they want. Because it always comes down to want, not need. Well, I want this. I want to do that. Not I need to.
But I would say that this is not a need per se. Like I would say even from the perspective that you're coming at it from, like this is something that you want to do.
But he is claiming that it is something that everyone is supposed to do. And it looks different because our lives, like I said, I can consider myself living in gospel poverty and still have 15 toys for my 10-month-old baby to play with because they serve a purpose.
Yeah.
Now, there can be excess there, which is why it's already a little excessive, which is why we're filtering through some things because we've been blessed with so much stuff that people have given us. But in some categories, we have too many things. But,
Yeah, but I also think excess is... I almost feel like excess is an attitude. Like if someone has 100 things, whatever the things are, but they use all of them for different things in equal amounts for whatever purpose that they're meant to serve, I don't know if I would necessarily say that's excess. Like if there is a need or even a desire. Because I mean, like this is actually something I was also texting with a friend of the podcast, Joseph, on. Was that like John Paul II skied. and like had all of these hobbies that were prayerful in and of themselves. Or like Carlo Acutis, like people have been making the joke, at least in younger crowds, about how like when he becomes Saint Carlo Acutis, like his PlayStation is going to be a second-class relic.
I've made that joke a bunch of times.
There's no reason that he needed a PlayStation. It was just a part of his life, and it was an important part of his life. Important enough that we're even talking about the possibility of it being a second or third-class relic.
Yeah. That gets into the concept of attachment when it comes to material things, too. You know? But again, like I said, I wasn't trying to bring up this whole debate again, because I think the last podcast we talked about it enough.
That's fair.
My point is that if anybody is unsure about this, just read this book.
Yeah.
And then talk to me about it. Because if you can make argument, like Thomas Dubé is the type of person and writer that and this is easy for me. It's why I like the Catholic Church, because when I encounter a religious figure or the church itself that I trust, for me, it's that's what my spiritual director. It's there's no questioning in my mind for him. Like if he's you need to do this, don't do I don't even.
Yeah.
So that's with him. I've read other things by him. So if he's laying it out, and again, it's not just because I trust him. It's also because and I'm only a few chapters in. But if you read it, it's well, yeah. Now, again, does that mean I don't ever... I'm not saying that means I need to... Again, it's going to look the way it's going to look, but, Jesus made it clear how we're supposed to live, and, it's hard to justify the excess anything when there's people not very far from me that have nothing.
Yeah.
And the fact that, even if I have 100 things and I use them all, there's an aspect of suffering involved by me still getting rid of half of them.
Yeah.
If I have 2 coats and I can justify having the one coat because it's a little better in the rain, still giving away that coat to someone that needs it, which then makes me inconvenienced, that there's holiness there. Well, there's the potential for it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Again,
I have to get further. You're touching on things that I'm reading in a different book for.
I just take. I mean, again, maybe that's part of. It's easier for me too because this is one of the good things of Protestant and bad because they do their own interpretations.
Yeah.
But it's very easy for me to read Scripture and just take it as Jesus is saying this to me.
Yeah.
It's easier for a rich man to get... there's easier for... You know the quote.
I do.
The eye of the needle thing.
Yes.
So when I read that, I'm okay, then I sit in this room and I realize there's a lot of things in here not only could I get rid of, but I should.
Yeah. I just think for the person who is not in the state of life that you're in right now, I might have said this last time, I don't remember if I did, but faith is a journey. It's not I'm in this spot and then I read the entirety of scriptures and then I step over here and suddenly I'm giving away all of my possessions to anyone who needs it. There's a path that gets me from where I am to that spot where I'm living in that radical evangelical poverty.
Yeah.
And there's maybe there's 3 things between where I am and there. And I know for Lent, because you and I were talking before about the things we do separate, but also the things we do together with our spouse. We gave up excess spending together and we're donating more, we're doing a bigger tithe beyond just whatever percentage it is that the government will give us money back for, but just trying to grow in generosity to be generous. And then once Lent ends, keeping some of that a part of our life. But I don't think we're I think there's bigger, more pressing things in our life or even in my own life separate from everything else where I'm being called to focus on that more than living in radical poverty or aiming my life in radical poverty. I'm still figuring out how to be married and how to be married well. I'm still figuring out how to be a good father. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of those things are...
Well, I wouldn't have said any of these things to you 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm God.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you've gotten to a place in your life where you're taking these things on.
Yeah, and again, I'm not sitting here. That's why I said this is more about me than what I'm telling what other people should do. My point was just like, if you're curious about this, if you think don't believe me, or if you just want to know more, I'm pointing people to the book.
Yeah.
But I'm not telling everyone who's listening to this podcast or you to do the same thing. I'm just talking about, and I've been talking to you off the podcast about my own calling that's been confirmed in spiritual direction that also fits well with the life that God has given me.
Yeah.
And the fact that literally God, in his sense of humor, put the one thing in my lap that forces this into me, which is a 10-month-old baby when I'm almost 40. My wife is 44.
Yeah.
So, things like that. But again, I am at the point in my life, and I've talked to, I'm not doing this necessarily yet and things like that. And again, so I don't want to sound like I'm getting that, but like, just to give you an example of the literalness, because you talk about tithing. Like, when I read the scripture, that tells me I should be giving so much to the poor and to the church that it affects my grocery budget.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I read that, that's what and again, I'm not doing that. I would like to my wife and I to figure out a way to incorporate that is more of an extreme thing. Again, like, obviously I can't not pay certain bills because then, but like, that's what I've said to Megan recently is like, I'd like to get to a place where like we have to be like, we give enough to where we have to start being really careful with like groceries and like utilities and stuff like that. Again, I'm not there. I don't know if I'll get there because it's really challenging. But like, when I read scripture, that's kind of scripture. That's just what it says to me. I'm like, oh, well then, like, if I'm only giving out of my excess, I suck.
Yes.
That
I'm starting to come around on because like, not that I think
like
Veda
it needs to hurt.
have,
It needs to hurt.
Yeah. Not that I think Veda and I have a lot of excess, but we definitely have more than a lot of people our age, I'll say.
Yeah.
And so trying to give back and be
again,
generous
even though I took a significant pay cut a few years ago to do full-time ministry, like I said this last time, when we got our taxes done, I'm still like, damn, like, we do very well. I mean, my wife is blessed with a good job. She just got like a pretty significant raise at one of the places, and like, so again, my goal is to always be discerning on how to treat that, so it's for other people, not just us.
Yeah. And
again, I'm in a place in my life where like, if you said, Chris, I'll pay for you to go on a cruise, I still wouldn't want to go. Like, I don't, like, I literally like told Megan, like, I have no desire to do any, like, I'd like to go to Ireland again and stuff like that, but like, I don't really care. So that's, again, like, God has put me in a place where the level of detachment I feel by the grace of God lines up with a lot of the things that I'm saying, but most people might not feel that way. But again, most people, this is a weird thing to talk about because it's just not something people normally talk about on a podcast or to other people at all. But that's what I've realized too, is like, there's just lots of things I still want to do, but like at the end of the day, all I really want to do is just be on my farm with my family and friends. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if I ever go on a vacation again, honest to God.
We like it here too.
It's nice. Was there anything you wanted to talk about? Because we're tight on time today, and we kind of... I didn't mean that to take up that much time.
No, that's okay.
We got into some really heavy stuff last time. And
we did. Yeah,
listening back, I was like, that was intense. But my main goal was just to say, like, read this. Like, if you want to learn more about that, or if you want to... Like, I honestly don't want to debate anybody on this topic unless they've read this book. And I'm not even finished the book. Well, you will if you participate in one of our future book studies, because it's going to come up.
Yes, no, that's fair. I mean, I'm not going to take it upon myself to read the book now so that I
well,
can
when I first started spiritual direction 8 years ago, I was not allowed to read that book.
Interesting.
He told me no, because he knew how fired up and radical of a person I am. He knew that 8 years ago, if I read that, I would have literally just taken all these guitar, everything, and just... Yep. One of the reasons I was turned on to that book, because a priest friend told me about it and said one of his priest friends read it in seminary and literally did give away everything he did not absolutely need to survive.
Yep. I don't know if it was this book or a similar one, but I had a housemate in college who dropped out of college and joined a monastery in Kentucky and gave what like there. I didn't go to his first vows, but a bunch of my friends did, and they told the story of like he went into the bathroom to change into his habit, and then came out with all of his clothes and like gave it to the guys and was like, I don't need this anymore. If anyone's my size, like
That's so attractive to me.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That is like. That's why marriage is good, because Megan helps keep me in check, because she's even more spiritual than me and more grounded. So like, that's why I'm glad, because she keeps me grounded. But like, but that's the calling. Like I said, talking this in spiritual direction, that's the calling of like, how can I can't move into a cave, but how can I incorporate the cave into
your life?
And that's why I look around just this shack and I'm like, by the way, this is a shed. We're actually in a shed right now. It doesn't look like it, but it's a shed.
It's like this that you're seeing back here. That's like basically the wall. There's like maybe 3 feet that way and maybe 3 feet that way.
This shed is This
but
shed
it's
is
like
insulated.
the screen is against the wall. So like we're in like a what would you say, 15 foot by 8
It's
foot
bigger
room.
than that. I forget. I don't know. Yeah, it's just a big shed that was converted and drywalled and insulated and heated, which is nice because it's, when your house was built in 1810, the rooms are small and there's not many of them. So, I see something I need to caulk. There's a gap in the underside of the window. It's always something.
Oh yeah, I see it.
That'll be important for air conditioning.
Yeah, that's fine. But no, to answer your question, no, I didn't really have anything to talk about.
That's fine. Like I said, I'll
come next time with one.
Well, this last 2 weeks has been a blur anyway for me. So
I figured.
Really, all I have to talk about is the fact that, like I said, I talked a bunch of smack on a podcast, and God's like, okay. And the day after
2
Ash
days
Wednesday,
later,
I'm like, I have no choice but to live literally everything that I said.
Yeah.
Because I'm also giving everything of myself.
Yes.
I'm sleeping great though. I sleep like a tank now because I'm just not stopping.
That's good.
That's
the way it should be.
But that's what Megan and I said. Like, we want to we're both on the same page. Because my wife has always been a person that's a busybody. Like, she naturally just, I have to make her sit down.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not like that. I can be very lazy, left to my own devices.
Yeah.
So that's a big vice for me of sloth. So this just contradicts that. Mm-hmm. And I will say the other thing about having this kid which is cool, is while I still stand by everything I've ever said about like parenting and the things I've witnessed from watching people raise kids, I at least now see the other side of it. Like, I understand. Like, I joked with you about how as soon as I put him in a stroller, I'm like, we got to take this kid to Disney World. I won't, because I still think it's ridiculous to take a baby to Disney World, but I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I just want to do whatever I can to watch him smile, which sounds really corny.
I will say, I know I just met him today. He's got a great smile.
He is the cutest boy ever, and he loves
cute.
seeing and doing everything. And please, listeners, if you could please pray for him and us, because it is a tricky situation where he comes from a rough environment, obviously, which is why he was taken from his home. Reunification is always the first goal with babies, but it's a tough situation. There's real issues there. Things get scary. It's hard. Court. It's just it's rough with any kid, but like a 10-month-old baby, like, they don't understand what's going on. So with visitations and court and stuff, it's sad.
Yeah.
And it's also very emotional because his parents are not evil people and they do love him, but they have a lot of issues. So I would ask before we depart, just if everyone listening could just, I can't say his name, but just for pray for this little baby and everything that's going on.
He's a good baby.
He's a sweetheart. So
yeah.
Cool.
I have something for next time that I will remember, because I think if we have more time next time,
we will have more time next time.
Cool.
Because like I said, I didn't realize that I just wasn't paying attention to the time we were walking around the farm.
I was like, my ADHD wife and friend definitely don't know what time it is.
Well, I had no idea. And my watch is, that's definitely not. Yeah. Well, again, a sunny day on the farm, I could walk around and show you things all day.
Oh, yeah. And I would love to see them all day. But I also know we got...
Well, let's go.
This to do.
So this is one of our shorter episodes. So those of you who struggle with longer episodes, here you go.
You're welcome. We did this for you.
Have some mustard.
On purpose. No. Don't have mustard. Enjoy your life.
It's so good.
Although it is Lent, have some mustard.
To suffer. I can't. Well, we can't do it again, but I still can't wrap my head around it. I had a chipotle mustard today that was so good. So good.
Makes me want to get. This is one of the best beers I've ever had, and that makes me want to gag.
All right. Horseradish mustard. All right, everybody. We're on video now. Welcome to my Orifice. I mean, my office.
Wow.
I had to say the joke. I had to. It was in my head. Welcome to my office.
To Chris's openings.
Well,
take that as you will.
To the love shed.
This is a Catholic podcast. This is a Catholic podcast. This is a podcast with Catholics.
My forehead is shining.
And Chris's orifices.
My orify. Yes.
Oriphopides.
Is that a word?
Orify?
I know orify is a word. You said oriphopides.
No. Okay. But that's the whole Alright, quick fun fact for everyone before we get off the podcast. People think that the plural of octopus is octopi, but it's not octopi because if it was the I ending for the plural, it would have to be a Latin root word, but it's a Greek root word, so the plural of octopus is actually octopodes.
It sounds Greek.
Yes. I learned this in college from my friend Nora. Nora, if you ever listen to this, hello, and thank you for teaching me octopodes. But now anytime I talk about plural things, I always end it with opodes because it's just a fun way to go.
Someone please name their child Octopodes. Is that what you said?
I will give you $5 if you name your child Octopodes.
Octopodes. All right, we got to go for real.
We do have to go for real.
Bye, everybody.
All right, bye.
See ya.
Fairly well. Chris's head is getting even fatter.
Give away all your stuff. Bye.
Bye.